Evening, everybody. How we doing? How we doing? So, what happened today? I took three trades, two losses, one win. Still under the day green. Um, Ended up like 190 bucks in profit. So that's kind of nice. But I will admit my performance was not the best today. Um, so coming into today, I'm trying my best to go over my thought process for all the trades. It was pretty like my brain was just like on fire. I will admit though, I woke up late. Like I hopped on the charts at like 10 minutes after open, I think, or something like that. Um, so yeah, this is kind of one of the first things I saw. Sweat previous day's high, and then yeah. Anyways, so previous day's range stat. If you look at the daily chart, okay, just a flat daily chart. Yesterday, so Wednesday, broke Tuesday's high. So you have a certain probability that this candle is gonna close green. It didn't, but yeah, it's just one of those days that's part of the probability that it doesn't close green. But we had that in our favor for longs. For shorts, market opened up here. Truly open was all the way down here, and it wasn't traded through in London, so there was a possibility that we traded down all the way to here. Um, and there was also some relative equal lows over here, which I kind of liked. So yeah, price was also sitting in a resistance area that we've rejected from before, once, twice. So this could be the third time. If you saw price action today, you will notice that it was also the third time we rejected from there. Um, Price swept a previous day's high and created an internal low volume node, which I can actually show you with my pictures here, right here. So there's right here, there's your low volume node. It's kind of hard to spot here, but if you zoom in to just include this leg of price action, so like kind of looking like this on bookmap, it'll show us clear low volume here. But just looking at here, this is clear low volume node. But yeah. Um, it was a slow grind up from the overnight. So like from Asia low all the way to here, it's just grinding up, grinding up. Took Asia high and continued higher. And just kind of like a steady grind up, kind of like a slow trend day. Okay. So if you're looking for shorts, you'd also be fighting this trend, which actually started from yesterday. But anyways, that's kind of what we're looking at. And then my first trade was off of this low volume node, which I believe was we tapped that. I believe it was in the formation of this candle. I can actually look at the execution, which is this one. This one right here. So my entry was in the formation of this candle, if I'm not mistaken, because I also have the execution, so I can look at it really quick. Yeah, it was during that candle forming, so entered somewhere on here with my stop loss at the top of the low volume node, which was just 101, if I'm not mistaken. First one, yeah, this right here. So yeah, stop loss was 101, entry was 75.50, targeting all that, which I'll get to in just a second. So 75.50 50 was my entry. My target was 24. 24,969.75. So this was my trade. Obviously ended up getting stopped out. Kind of want to go over this execution, because if you fast forward to like, not this candle, but maybe this one. Yeah, there you go. So it did end up getting stopped out, right? Went through the low volume node, but I want to actually go over the live execution itself. So that's where I entered, right? And we'll just watch and see what happens. So I entered in that kind of heck of an entry. We broke below and retested the upper VWAP band, and we retested the low volume node. So that same candle did both things, so it looked pretty good. Have my stop loss there, just to kind of visualize my trailing. I'm like, okay, we're retesting all this. Cool. I want to see more failed buying here, because I did see a lot of failed buying, and I'll show you here in a second what that looked like. But yeah, then it started looking good. This could be a great point for you to trail to that wick, since we rejected from there. Especially when you see this next candle print, you'll see what I mean. Here, we got a lot of good volume. At this point, we break this low, right there. We reached the 1 and 2. I was up like 50 something points at a certain point, and I just didn't close it. I'm pretty sure I reached a 1 or 2, and I just didn't take it. Why? Beats me. I honestly couldn't tell you. But I did trail to the first wick that we rejected the little one up, not the second one. Should have trailed. I'm pretty sure it got like pretty close to my stop. Yeah, 4 points of my stop loss. Whenever this went back into profit, like right there, I should have closed it. I should have been out. Like I should have done both actually. I should have trailed and taken partials. My problem with this trade is I got greedy and I wanted to have the account pass in one trade. I wanted to have it knowing dang well that my usual target is a 1 or 2. And the risk I was putting on was not an amount that would have me pass the account in one trade. Should have been aware of that. Plain and simple. If I wanted to pass the account in one trade with the trades that I usually take, which are 1 or 2, I should have risked more. But I didn't. I risked my usual amount, which is like 200. And that's fine. But I just got greedy. That's the main, like the root cause of this being a problematic trade. That I wanted to pass the account in one trade, and I didn't take it. Because if you look here, right, that's a 1 or 2. I could have taken it here. 2.1. Maybe a little bit down. Maybe like down here. Maybe value area low. Yeah, 2.17. Solid as heck RR. 55 points. I should not have lost this trade. I should not have lost it. I trailed, sure. I mitigated a bit of my loss, but I should have won this trade. Plain and simple. Great trade. Did not take my 1 or 2. Did not take my piece of the pie. And it's annoying seeing it like this because, you know, it's hindsight, so obviously I'm going to be able to see these type of things. But it's just one of the things where I got to take my 1 or 2s. At least take like, I traded this with like 4 micros, I think. Take 3 off. Let 1 run. Let it run to true day. Right? That's like an extra 100 points. Pretty solid. But no, I just wanted to head a banger trade right at the top. And then I'll actually show you what I was looking at for low volume node. Saw failed buying here. More failed buying. Our CVD was around the same point. Like CVD was pretty similar, but we made it a lower high. So I entered in 75. So I entered somewhere around here. But yeah, that's the first trade, and we can get rid of this one. But yeah, then the second trade I believe was while this candle was printing. So I entered at like 63, I believe, somewhere in here, with my stop up here, and my target was London lows. This time I wasn't going for the account pass. I knew it was probably not gonna happen. Um, but yeah, I actually had like one tick above the wick, so right there. And I'll show you my thought process for this. Um, so I get stopped out of this one, and then we see this wick forming, and then I'll actually play this out. Yeah, right here. So we wick it, and then this starts printing. We see aggressive sellers step in, starts looking good, and then this happens. This candle just ends up wicking. So I should have just closed this once I saw this candle close like that, because then it just stopped me out pretty quickly. And then I entered a long, which I'll show you here in a second. Stopped out, almost immediately entered a long. Obviously there's this sped up, so it's pretty quick. It wasn't like immediate, but it was pretty quick. Yeah. So this trade should have just closed it for a 17-point loss. Plain and simple. Going for a 2.83R didn't happen. I get stopped out, and I entered for a long in the next one. So the thought process for the long was more so like going for the IB break and hitting IB extensions. Okay, so the IB did end up setting its low second on both the 45-minute and the 1 hour IB, which makes it more likely that we'll break the low. But since we're failing to break, we failed once. This candle right here, this candle, this wick clearly shows us buyers are in control here, right? Like sellers are not winning the battle. It is choppy, sure, but this candle tells me a lot about this low volume node that it's probably not going to hold. So I expected the low volume node to not hold, for starters. And I also noticed we're holding the overnight view up. We held it once, twice, 3 times. We were sustaining below New York VWAP, but with these candles, we were getting above it, and we were also sustaining. So this wick actually sustained New York VWAP, and we're getting back above that upper VWAP band. So in terms of like order flow confluences, it was there. And if you look at Bookmap, I actually wanted to show you what I saw here. This right here. Our CVD was turning positive, and I saw just buyers trying to push through, which is right where we're down, right? I'm like, buyers are going to push through. Plain and simple. Seeing them push through, and that's what I saw. I was like, I had Bookmap here, chart here. So I'm looking at both at the same time, right? Obviously, I try not to look at Bookmap too much because it can be overwhelming if you're looking at it constantly. But when it's at a key level like this level, then yeah. And since we're also like trading so much inside it, stops being a low volume node, and buyers are present here. Buyers are willing to continue higher. Buyers are, excuse me, are willing to buy at a higher price. I'm like, I want to join in on this move. So I ended up entering here. I think my stop loss was 66, if I'm not mistaken. And I can't remember what my exact entry was. It was 21,105. So 105 is my entry. I think I went for like a 1.68 or something like that. But here we can actually put in our IB extensions. We can do this. And I was shooting for the 0.4. So that is 170.25. So 1.67 RR. Okay. I was risking like 312 in this trade, so a bit more. This was also part of the emotions that were in play. Me using this size, because for the second loss, I went in for the first trade. I went in with 4 micros, and my risk was properly calculated. It was a $200 loss, It was less because I mitigated part of it, and then the second one I entered with 4, and I realized I was supposed to be using 2, so I cut 2 when I was in profit. And then this third trade, I just entered with 4, and clearly I was a bit above overboard, but it's not that much of a difference. I was also like had a bit of wiggle room. Like the first loss didn't do much for my trailing drawdown since I'm already past the 2K buffer. So like anything past that, it's just like kind of like free because it's not gonna have like more than 2,000 of a trailing drawdown. So that's kind of like my thought process kind of was today with in terms of like my risk management. Probably not the best because you gotta be consistent and all that. But yeah, I entered for this, and this just ended up playing out really well. Hit extensions right off the bat, and then the next handle got me out and profit. Um, so yeah, you can just look at the replay. I thought about trailing, but I think the first candle wasn't enough for me to like actually, because we did wick that kind of stuff. Um, Barely closed above the IB high in the 5 minute, and then the next candle was the one that got me out and profit. So yeah, I had a little emoji there for drama. But yeah, bit of a rough day for me personally because I let myself get caught up in the chop. That's all it was. I let myself get caught up in the chop. It started with me not being disciplined enough to wake up early enough. Um, so yeah, gotta cut the bullshit with that kind of stuff. Just I should wake up in time. There's no excuses there. My stop loss placement on this was decent. It was below POC. I didn't want to cover the whole wick because it was like a 60 point stop loss. So I just kind of went for like 30 points or something like that. I wanted to go for 30 points, which would have been fine actually, but it's whatever. Um, what else is there? Yeah, lesson learned. If I wake up late, better to just watch price action play out or wait to see if I'm on time for an A plus setup. The setup, there's some confluences there for it, but like not so much because you don't really have a drawn liquidity to hit, just your IB extensions. And after we break the IB high, you want to be looking for longs, but you're also in the resistance area. So it's just, it was a very, and something my mentor did tell me today. Um, you you had a clouded context, which is true. I had mixed bias in my context. Like I wrote down what I saw for shorts and longs. I was able to see both, which is usually a good thing if you're able to frame both sides. But that can also be a hint to stay away. If you're able to fully frame both sides, you're like maybe I want to wait for something clear for like one of the um, trade directions to be extremely clear, like clear as day. Which is what I think ended up happening after this ended up playing out. Um, like if you use, don't even think about the IB, right? What do we get? We get a resweep of the high that swept previous day's high. So you're like, okay, what have we done so far? We've broken through the slow volume. Cool, awesome. What do we get after that? Continue to space lower. Okay, saw a better rejection to the upper VWAP end. No continuation. See a bit of rejection at New York VWAP. Maybe you excuse me. Maybe you scalp this if you were able to. Maybe you caught 30, 40 points, maybe. And then immediately fail afterwards, if I'm not mistaken. Looked like we were sustaining, failed. If you were long, maybe this was your sign of close. Maybe then you get stopped out. You're like, okay, looks like we're gonna get a double break today, which is unlikely. On Thursdays, it's like in general terms, it's like an 11% chance that this happens. But if it does, you know how to play it, right? Looks like we're gonna break it, right? Maybe you were trying a long here, just based off the IP stat, you get stopped out, and then what are we getting? We broke through the New York VWAP, broke through the overnight VWAP, and we were retesting this. Okay, so maybe you wait here a little bit. Maybe this is your first trade. I can't remember exactly how this plays out, but maybe this is a trade idea that you take. You do a 35-point stop if you want to do a base of structure, 35-point stop and a couple ticks. Maybe you just want to target London lows. This is just playing the VWAPs, not even using order flow, because using order flow, ideally you get in up here with a stop up here. That's a bit better. So yeah. Jesus. But yeah. And then I think the next one gets you out in profit. Okay. We got a retest there. See if we push through. Yep, we do. That's a 3.75 RR. I knew we just continue selling off. We hit true day and all that stuff. I think we even hit previous day so, but I couldn't remember how this played out exactly. Like if this was the retest or not. I wasn't sure of that. But yeah, just look at the VWAP. That's exactly what happened. VWAP is a pretty solid ass confluence. I'm so glad I learned it. Yeah, it's great when you're able to align stuff. So in this case, you were waiting for, like, if you took the trade, you waited for New York VWAP to break, you waited for overnight VWAP to break, and you waited for a retest. Usually waiting for a break and a retest is pretty good. Like when we did here, we had a break. So like we were riding the VWAP and then upper VWAP band all day, like the entire overnight session, right? We started below it, then started slowly grinding up, and then here is when we actually we look like we're struggling. Then this candle is the one that breaks aggressively below it, and then the next candle, which is the one where we enter shorts, is the one that sustains below it. So like that's a break and retest, right? It's also a break and retest of New York VWAP. So like the break and retests are pretty dang solid setups if you're able to align them with other confluences. Like this one over here, it's mostly just going off of the VWAP, because I don't really remember seeing anything in the order flow, because at this point I wasn't even looking at the charts anymore. I was done trading, right? I feel like I did too much today, right? And luckily I didn't pay the price for it in terms of ending badly on the red. So yeah, I'm pretty sure 3 trades is like the limit for me. Usually it's like give 1 trade idea, 2 attempts max, right? Because if you have a trade idea and it fails, right, you have to think to yourself, does this mean I'm wrong, or does this mean I have bad timing? I just had bad timing or a poor entry or something, right? Or like what went wrong with the trade? I think the 2 shorts are an example of me giving the same trade idea 2 attempts, because the low volume node looked like it was still holding. I should have just disregarded it since we traded past it, even though we wicked it. That some people see it as cool. That's great. I wanted to see that. Other people might see it as, yeah, we traded past it, no longer a valid low volume node. And then also holding over Navy was another confluence that was against that trade. But the premise of the trade is this low volume is still going to hold and take us lower, right? So that's an example of the trade idea could have another chance, right? An example that would be like, it's just the wrong idea, is if we clearly trade past the low volume node and then it holds as support. So you're expecting it to hold as resistance first. If we break past it aggressively, like I expected it to when I tried the long, then you're expecting it to hold as support, which it did for a little bit, I'm pretty sure. And then it got ran through. But yeah, just trying to think to yourself, whenever you get a stop loss, am I able to trade the same idea again? Like if you're trading ICT, for example, let's say you're trading off of a 15-minute gap, right? And let's say you trade the IFVG model, where you trade the highest time frame inversion once we hit that key level. If one of your inversions fails and then you get a resweep of the initial low that hit the key level, and another inversion. Is that 15-minute gap still holding, or has it been inverted? If it's been inverted, your key level is no longer valid, so your trade idea shouldn't be valid. But if it's still holding and it's just a resweep of the initial low, then you're chilling. You probably should be trading that idea again because price is telling you this is still holding, right? So you think of it in terms of like, is my trade idea failing, or is it just giving me another attempt, right? That's why I say two trade attempts max on the same idea, and you should have the flexibility and the quickness, because you got to be quick when you're flipping bias to flip your bias. There's been like a couple, like today was one example where I flipped bias. This was not the best example. I remember there was one where my trade entry was pretty decent, and my stop loss placement was pretty good too, and then ended up playing out pretty dang well. So just think of it in terms of that, right? Like, is my trade idea still valid? Why or why not? Should I be flipping bias? Why or why not? Like, it has to make sense. You have to be able to answer the question, why am I taking this trade? If you're trying the same trade idea again, you should be able to answer the question, why am I trying it again, right? Is your key level still holding? Are your confidence is still there? Do you have another entry confirmation? So yeah, just think of it in terms of that. In my eyes, some are failed buying at the wick. So I think I can actually show you. Yeah. So this was the second trade idea. I saw more failed buying here. I think our CVD was like the highest it been in all session, or just really high. Still in the red, but it was pretty high. And then I saw aggressive sellers stepping in. That's when I stepped in. When I saw aggressive selling stepping in and displacing through, holding this low volume mode. So this is an example of I'm trying the same idea because I think the ski level is still holding. You know what I mean? So yeah, you just gotta be a bit better about that. I feel like today was one of those days where just my performance wasn't 100% on point. And it's okay. It happens. You know, I feel like I was bound to have a poor day, even though I still ended green. I was bound to have one of those bad days where I have to have like 3 trades for me to finally stop. Ideally, it's just 2 and then I'm done. Actually, in an ideal world, it's just 1, well, 1 and done. But yeah. Anyways, that pretty much sums up the trade recap for today. Hopefully, y'all caught a banger today. It was pretty hard to sustain this chop. We chopped around from 9:30 till like pretty much the first hour. Yeah, the first hour of price action, we were inside of a range. Like it's a 100-point range, so it's tradable, but it's still 100-point range. Like it's pretty rough to trade it. So it does. Another thing I did notice as well is actually we put in this gap, this 4-hour gap, which I didn't notice at the time, like when I was trading. And if you just look at it here, this gap gets put in at once the 9 a.m. candle closes, which happened right here. So this wick is actually the wick that traded into this bullish 4-hour gap. So you could have traded this. You could have easily traded this. And you would have gotten an entry if you just looked at a 15-minute chart. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Just looking at a 15-minute chart, right? You could have entered along right here and target this. Purely off of just the gap. Obviously, you gotta have more confidence than just a 4-hour gap and a wick, but yeah, just one of those days, man. One of those days. Tomorrow's gonna be better for sure. Gonna be disciplined, responsible, wake up on time, and just be patient. Wait for price to give us clear direction. Going into tomorrow, same story as today. As I mentioned in the previous video, we got our previous day's high and our previous day's low right here. We got our key levels right there. We can get rid of all these, and we can drag out our overnight VWAP here. Get rid of this one. Yeah. Same thing. We bounce between the resistance area and the NWAG. Obviously, we are dealing with a pretty big range. If you look from all the way down here to this high, 758 point range, pretty dang big, and it's had quite a move, quite the moves. We bounced between this range for the entire week. So we'll see if tomorrow's the breakout day. We'll see if it's just a trend day, a type of day that sets up for reversal. Gotta wait and see what price tells us. Gotta be patient, stay patient, and make whoever you want this to make proud, make them proud. And now I got mine right here. I actually showed it's a Virgin Mary, but Grandpa. That's the one I want to make proud. Rest in peace, Pops. But that pretty much sums it up. Hopefully I'll catch y'all in the next one with a banger trade. Hopefully the title of the next video. If not, the one after that. Cool with whichever one happens first. Hopefully one of the videos soon will say I passed my eval and I'm breaking bonded. But yeah, it's been pretty solid week so far, except for I'm just like not fully convinced by my performance today, you know? Like I let myself get caught up in the chop, so yeah. It is what it is. Should have been more patient. That's all it is. It's all good. It happens. And it'll happen to anyone, truly. And it just happened today. I just happened to be one of those people that got caught up in the chop. So even the inversion model was solid today, bro. Like 10 a.m. open high. Like even just an inversion model, like pretty sure you'd have to wait for this inversion. 102.50. There's just me yapping because I want to. I could have waited for this candle close because it actually inverts the final gap on the leg. Actually, maybe. Let's see. 102.50. 103.50. So not that one. Yeah, it's definitely that one. Definitely that one. So yeah, this is your entry. Stop at this high. 46 point stop. You target. Oh shoot. This is just a simple inversion model. We accumulate for like an hour, then manipulate higher with clear displacement, and inverse that move. So maybe you saw a lot of fail buying here. If you entered up here, great job. You cut a great move. But yeah, this would have played out for quite a solid RR. 2.83, 130 point move. If you targeted Asia lows, caught even more of a move. 4.58, 210 points. Cool. Anyways, pretty solid trade today. Love the fact that volatility is back. You just gotta try our best to adapt to these conditions. Use proper sizing, proper stop loss placement. Yeah. Try your best to follow the trend. The trend is your friend. Another thing that I forgot is I feel like the shorts were kind of counter trend in a way. Mainly because this kind of looked like an uptrend. But yeah, should have managed that more aggressively. That's all it is. Should have caught a simple 1 and 2 today and called it a day. But I didn't. It's all good. It happens to the best, and I'm definitely not one of them. So still gonna learn from it. Not gonna accept any excuses for myself. So hopefully I'll catch you on the next one with a banger shade. And yeah, see y'all on the next one. Peace.